Hello, my name's Nick Murnock. Thanks for joining us again for Everton News. A bit like last week, can have a little look at what was quite a contentious little game of football over the weekend, roll with a few views, and then have a little bit look of what's going on in the world before the Southampton game at the weekend. So again, I'm joined by Dawn Keogh and by Callum Murnock. We're probably going to provide all the interesting stuff, and we'll take it away from there. So I think there has been, as you will all know, so much stuff going on around the derby to a degree that's drawn away from what was a great game. And I think that's where I'd really like to start focusing. So what do we think, guys? What was your reactions once we'd pulled ourselves down off the ceiling?
Good, Cal.
Well, yeah, let's just start. Is your head all right after we scored that second goal?
For those of you that, if you want a boring little story, we both jumped up at the same time. Callum has a habit of throwing his fists out, and he nearly managed to break my glasses as well as give me a cauliflower ear. So, a goal, absolutely. But it just was one of them games, wasn't it? It was in and out, up and down, all the way through.
Yeah, I think for a neutral, it was a good game of football to watch. There was chances both ends that we should have finished, they should have finished. There's the contentious to come on to, but I think overall it was a good game. Poor performances from Everton players. I mean, I thought Mina, Decore, Richarlison, to name a few, absolutely stunk the place out. I wouldn't give them more than 4 if I was rating them, but overall it was a decent game of football. Do you think?
I think what didn't surprise me was how quickly Liverpool came out the blocks. Yeah, we all, I think we spoke on the show last week, we expected a reaction out of Liverpool, and we certainly got one, didn't we? I mean, you'd hardly settled yourself down, took the top off your beer, and were a goal down. And I don't think that surprised either of us, did it?
No.
No, I think which is fine, but I think we reacted well to it, didn't we? I think once we got hold of it, we reacted well. And I hear what you say, Dawn, around sort of there were some weaker performances, which in some ways people would say, well, that wasn't Everton at its best, but we still competed with Liverpool for the best time we have done for a long time. But I think there were others that came out of it really well. One being Michael Keane, who got us back in the game.
Yeah, and I think as well, Alexander-Arnold didn't get up the pitch much, did he? So they were concerned about Dean putting the cross in and DCL scoring, which obviously was the second goal. You didn't see him advance much. Robertson was up and down, but our tactics, I guess, were on point for that.
Yeah, I mean, what do you reckon, Cal, as far as did Ancelotti get it right, or do you think there's, with hindsight, could have been done a different way?
Oh, I think I want to disagree with Dawn, actually, to be fair. I think she's been a little bit harsh, and a few of the fans have been a little bit harsh in terms of the performance. Obviously, don't get me wrong, we weren't great on the ball, and we weren't great at keeping the ball. We gave Liverpool a lot of possession. We were a little bit wasteful, but I thought if we conceded 2 goals was a little bit disappointing, because I thought we actually defended quite well in what was a low block on a 4-5-1. Although I do agree with Yerry Mina. I mean, 4 out of 10 for that. That clearance was just pathetic. He needs to be going at that with his left foot, which could have cost us the game, really, if we didn't get the DCL equaliser. But no, general thoughts on the game. I thought we were all right defensively. I thought we were just all right. I think we worked hard. There was a lot of steel about us, which we spoke about before the game, with adding these new players in. And I think that showed. I think it was a really resilient performance to, as you say, come back twice from Liverpool. I mean, when was the last time we did that? Maybe when we went 2-0 down when Suarez dived in front of Moisey.
Yeah.
Stevie Naismith scored. So, yeah, I think it was really resilient, and it was good to see. And as I say, it was a brilliant game.
Decent debut as well by the young kid we got from Norwich.
Yeah. I mean, it was a hard position for him to come on. Obviously, he's usually more of a centre-half, and to come up 1v1 against Mane, he did really well. A few decent runs forward. He's shown his pace and power already.
Did you see the block from his pecs? I mean, they must be made of steel. But the shot was out and it was like, boom, and nearly hit the halfway line off his chest. Wow.
Anything, did he?
His shoulders are like kettlebells. See, where Henderson ran into him. Henderson's on the floor in the middle of the box.
Yeah.
And he just stood over him. You were like, well done, Ben.
I love that because he thinks he can to concrete anyway, doesn't he? Anderson. So yeah, nice to see.
Sorry, Nick. I don't know what you think. I mean, I think the performance, I think they get slated a little bit, and we've given the Liverpool fans stick for not beating us when we weren't great. But I did think we were okay. I don't think it was as bad as what a few have made out, and a few of my mates weren't too happy with the performance. I think you've got to accept when you're playing a team like Liverpool, they're going to have a little bit more on the ball than what we are, which would be fair to say with some of the quality they have.
But what about Gomez? I mean, I didn't mention him on my list before. I'd forgot to do that. I mean, he couldn't pass the ball. He couldn't win a ball. He was about 2 yards off the pace of the game from the kickoff. I mean, I just don't think he hasn't come back from pre-season. He doesn't look fit enough, and I think a few of the other players, like Rodriguez, look leggy probably because of where he was coming back from. You know, like you said last week, he wasn't getting back into training until Thursday or whatever. But I just think, like the likes of Gomez that hasn't been on international duty, there's no excuse really.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I completely agree. We're about 5 levels better than what we show. And Gomez is a good point. I mean, he has struggled probably since that injury for me. There's been an odd game. And he's not quick in the press. So he doesn't really, well, he does shoot next to the other two who can run for him. But, you know, ideally you want 3 of them dynamic players because Decore and Allen are still good on the ball. As you say, I thought Gomez was panicky on the ball. He gave it away a lot. I can't remember too many things he did where you were thinking, oh, well done, Andre. Well done, Andre. He was one of them players. Maybe we were sort of carrying at times on Saturday. So maybe that's another point for this coming Sunday against Saints, whether he stays in or not.
He's pretty though, and that counts for something, eh?
I know there's a lot will go along with you, Dawn. All those are queued up for hugs last year or something. I get that side of it, but I am sort of sitting down with Cal. I think we spoke last week around Sigurdsson's forcing himself into contention, and I think he continues to do so. It's I may have brought him on personally a little bit earlier if I was sat in the dugout, but I wasn't. So who am I to doubt Carlo? But I do think at that point, yeah, Gomez was quite lightweight, but there's a great player in there. I just would like to see it coming back a little bit quicker. But I mean, I suppose if you put your blue-coloured glasses on, you know, our red friends will say they deserve to win the game, and we probably go into a little bit of that in a minute. But I think globally, if Everton had taken the chances, we could have been 3-1 up technically before Liverpool got that Salah goal. You know, DCL, the form he's in, you would have put your house on him slotting that cross in and to make it 2-1. Richarlison could have done better with the header that hit the post. You know, it was, when you look at it, quite sort of a good performance despite the sort of the criticisms that we're probably contradicting ourselves with.
Yeah, I think like the Richarlison one, when you look back, a diving header probably would have given more power to get behind the ball. But then you look, he's going straight up against the post, isn't he? And the other one for DCL, I don't even think he made any contact with it. I always think, particularly Thierry Henry years ago, he used to have like a sitter that was a tap-in and he'd miss it. He'd miss the easy ones, and I think it's just one of them, isn't it? But yeah, I agree that we had a lot of chances. It wasn't just them.
Yeah, I think that was a real positive of Saturday. Normally in games against Liverpool, we are terrified of them, of the whole situation and of the game. So for us to make so many clear-cut chances against them is a real positive, and going into the next game in the future, whoever else we're going to play, it's positive that we're creating so many chances against them. I say we had them 2 chances, 2 goals we scored. DCL in the first half ran through a few times, raised 1v1, but the defender got a shot off, a few across the box. So it was good to see us making so many chances against Liverpool for once, which did make for a good derby.
Yeah, I think he actually did, and you know, we sort of. I know there's a little bit we'll probably cover up in a minute, but you know, there were a couple of great saves by Pickford as well. There was for a good part of the game, it was the Jordan Pickford that you hope you get every week, but obviously the little bit with the Henderson efforts, and then the other areas will, I think, unfortunately shroud that for him. But no, I agree. I mean, I accept credit where credit's due. I thought Salah's goal was great. I mean, he hit it well, didn't he, with a little backlift? But it just felt like a real kick in the stomach when that went in, because I didn't think we deserved to be behind.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, don't go on.
I was just saying it was an assist off Mina, wasn't it? Because it was a terrible.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And that's those silly little things we've still got to stamp out of our game, haven't we? And I'm sure must cause Ancelotti a world of pain when he's used to sort of a better level of defensive lineup. But it can only get better. So it was, I was content with it. But obviously we were all content with it because of the excellent way that VAR worked. I think, wasn't it? It's most of us admit it was clearly offside, wasn't it?
Well, the question I've got is, when last season when Liverpool played Wolves, and Wolves in each game, I think, had a hairline decision on VAR and they got it ruled out.
Yeah.
Liverpool didn't say, "Oh, ref, I think you need to have a look at that again." Do you know what I mean? So why now they've got one decision against them? Do they kick off? I don't get it.
I think it's because it's their right, and if we're maybe slipping into bitter Evertonian mode, then they have had the decisions and go with them. As somebody once put it on social media over the weekend, well, if you're at the top, you get the decisions. Well, here we are, we're top, and we have got the decision. So probably there is some proof in that one, really. But okay, it was extremely tight, and I think if it had gone against us, we might have been equitably as upset as they were. But it is what it is, isn't it? And you look in the book, and it was offside, and it was 2-2, and no matter how much Jordan Henderson decided to celebrate, it wasn't a goal. So no, I think, no, I don't even think. I know I think we deserve the draw at least. I mean, you called it 2-2 last weekend, Cal, when we did the predictions. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah,
everything we went for, really, quite an exciting match. I think on the VAR, it is what it is. I mean, whether we agree with them minimal offsides, whether they're for or against us, they're there, aren't they? And unfortunately for them lot, it hasn't worked out for them, but it's worked out for us this time. I'm sure it'll bite us on the backside at some point this season, and we'll have egg on our face. But I don't know if you've seen the video of where Henderson celebrating, all the Liverpool fans are rightly celebrating too. Yeah. And the goal gets pulled back for offside, and all you can hear is all the Everton players and all the Everton bench cheering, going mad. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's really good. I'll send it to you on Twitter.
I think that's the issue, isn't it, with VAR? If we slip into that subject now, I mean, I made the point the other week. As part of Everton's Fans Forum, people may or may not be aware that last year, after the Brighton debacle, where Keane got pulled for watching the ball and stamping on the guy's foot, and we got that penalty against us, along with a couple of other poor decisions, we put an open letter to the FA, openly challenging whether VAR was the right way forward, whether it needed to be re-looked at, the fact it was stalling games so people couldn't celebrate, and just raising a number of big issues. We also sent the same letter to Mike Riley as far as the referee's secretary. Now, didn't get a response off either side, but what it was is at the time Marco Silva raised the letter at the managers' meetings with the referees, and it was put down to, well, it's that's just Everton fans having a grumble, VAR's okay. A lot of stuff on the social media at the time, to be fair, people weren't coming out supporting it, even though VAR was biting a number of clubs on the backside. It was like, oh, you're just moaning. So I sort of have very little sympathy now with the Liverpool fans who I'm seeing going to have silent protests outside Anfield, and they want to send letters and they want inquiries of the government and whatever else. It was like, well, as football fans, you all should have stood up against VAR, but you didn't. You were too parochial going, now it's just Everton. Well, here you go. I think VAR is wrong, but I don't know, But does it get any better with VAR?
Well, it doesn't, and I think you take the rough with the smooth, which is pretty much what you've just said. Like, you get some decisions for, you get some against, and unfortunately for us last season, we were on the negative side of decisions, and the Brighton penalty that was never a penalty, and they come out afterwards and they say, oh, sorry, it wasn't a penalty. Yeah, but we've just lost the points for that. That doesn't help. The Dele Alli handball. And then you look at Liverpool, the Alexander-Arnold handball, that the ball was going straight away through to Sterling, but it wasn't a handball and they got away with that. It's just, you can't moan about it 1 minute when it goes against you and then go, it's okay when it goes for you. You've just got to take both.
Yeah.
I think the thing with VAR is it's still human error. So, all right, you had the referee's human error before VAR. You've now got someone's human error in getting to see it a couple of 100 times or however long they need, and we're still going to get things wrong. I think that's the thing people have got to accept. Yeah, it'll get more right than wrong, but it will still get things wrong because it's still human error. It's still one person's opinion of a foul in the box, a handball, and it's slowed down and whatnot. So it's still always going to be human error for me. So, yeah, as you both said, it's not worked out for them this time. As in the past, that Brighton game was ridiculous. The Dele Alli decision, the home to Tottenham, which ultimately all cost Silver his job.
Yeah.
Went on from them, not win you.
The other thing is on VAR as well, like the referee's there and involved in the whole game and the emotions and everything. So if we rewind back to Son taking out Gomez, and Son had, he's a placid player generally, but he loses his rag. And in that game, he didn't get a penalty decision. He thought Gomez had elbowed him, and then he went and took a chunk out of Iwobi, went and tried to take a chunk out of someone else. And next minute, he gets Gomez, and that happened. And if you're viewing in the VAR room, the decision purely based on an incident, it doesn't tell you the whole story. So that's where the referee is in the best place to make those decisions. And if he's missed something great, then the VAR can fill them in. But that for me was a red card for Son if you saw him escalating beforehand.
I think what it's done for me is at the start of the season, it looked like they were hopefully going back to where it was in the World Cup, where refs were going and looking for themselves on the TVs, and they've stopped again. And I think in some ways that was the problem on Saturday. I mean, you might as well roll into it. The Jordan Pickford incident, which has caused an awful lot of stuff. There's been various views, various comments on it. But at the end of the day, there was the VAR's made the decision. The referee's not gone and had a look for himself. They've not told him to go and have a look. As Cal said, they make mistakes because I think whoever was doing VARs probably only looked at a couple of levels of that, not the full picture. But it is still causing an issue. But I've got to be honest, the reaction over that has been embarrassing, for want of a better phrase, is it not?
It has. Well, if you think that the media has ripped Pickford massively, he's clumsy, he's rubbish, Liverpool fans say he's got short arms and he's a dinosaur, and all those comments that have been said about him on an Everton level and for England. I mean, the press are determined to get him to lose his share for England. And he comes into the game on the back of all that stuff, the penalty for England that, he didn't really do anything wrong, but he got blamed for it. And he's gone from being clumsy overnight to being vindictive, going to hurt him, which, if you saw the Rob Green footage today, he looked through the video evidence and sort of went, he's making himself big. He's realised that Van Dijk's there at the last minute. And ultimately, on top of that, if Van Dijk was onside, then Pickford would have cleared it easily anyway. What do you think about that then, Cal?
No, I agree. The manhunt's been embarrassing. I agree with you, Dawn. It's more the media. You're going to expect it from Liverpool fans on Twitter. I think a lot of our fans think you would be done. You seem the type, to be honest, already. If Van Dijk had done that to James or Richarlison, we would be going at them. I would be myself, you know what I mean? I'd be having a go at Van Dijk. So I can understand it from Liverpool fans. Obviously not all the dying and all this stuff, them threats. That's just another ridiculous story. But the media have been just pathetic. All this about that he's out of control, he was a rage tackle, all these headlines in The Guardian and whatnot. It's not true. And it's a manhunt. This hasn't happened for any other bad tackles. I think it was Wesley that got done last season. But I don't even know who they were playing, when we were Sheffield United or someone. It was nothing, and it was a similar tackle. But because it's Liverpool, because it's Pickford, it probably shouldn't have the England number one because he's been useless for Everton. But, it's just over the top. It really is. And I mean, I don't think he meant to do it. I really don't think he meant to do it. I think he's going for the ball, as you both said with the Rob Green analysis. He's got his eyes on the ball. He's a goalkeeper. He's got to put a challenge in. Imagine if he just stood there and just let Van Dijk tap it in.
Yeah.
You're going to be going mad, aren't you? Yes, it wasn't a great tackle, and he'll know that. He hasn't gone out to hurt Van Dijk.
No,
that's the key issue to remember, isn't it? As you said, Dawn, the most logical thing I've seen was Rob Green's analysis today, which showed his head up, looking at the ball, watching it in, and then a split second where he suddenly realised he got it wrong as he did his star shape. And yeah, he took him out, unfortunately. Now, we probably wouldn't have complained if they give a penalty if he wasn't offside, but they didn't. And you need to get over it. But what's annoyed me is some of these washed-up footballers claiming to know what he's like. You know, seen Mark Bosnich over the weekend as well. There's a man who stuffed more cocaine and blew his bloody career away. And he's having a go at going, he knows that Jordan Pickford's got it in him. No, you don't. Gabby Bonlahor, another one.
Yeah,
no,
the
you
fatty.
don't. What's that?
Yeah, same with that Bonlahor, the fatty.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, you've wasted your career. Don't start coming on TV and crying about somebody else. So that's annoyed me. That I could go on listing some of them rubbish alleged pundits. At the end of the day, it was what it was. You know, nobody's celebrating Van Dijk getting injured because he's a damn good player and it will cause Liverpool some problems. But what followed was just plain disgusting for me on social media, to the point of death threats that the police have now got involved with. You know, some of this stuff that they're saying, right, well, he should get banned for as long as Van Dijk's out for the same period of time. Just absolutely numpty ideas. And then obviously followed up by some of these people claiming they're going to go and get him or something. Just move on. It's a game of football. It hasn't gone people's way. I don't know what you guys think, but it is now becoming quite tiresome, really, the social media side of things.
Yeah, well football's passionate and it's an emotional game, isn't it? And for a lot of us, it's a massive part of life, but there's a line, and that for me is massively crossing it. I mean, if you look at Van Dijk particularly, we probably would have had banter with Liverpool fans saying, oh, if you got an injury to Van Dijk, what are you going to do then? But none of us want any football player to get an ACL injury because they might never come back the same. But if you look at the derby, and you look at the first 10 minutes, I think it was, when Van Dijk goes in and he takes James out, and he takes DCL out, and he's laughing about it. And then you go back to against Napoli last year when he nearly breaks Mertens' ankle and he says, that's just football. Like, you can't say that 1 minute and then say, oh, that's assault the next. You can't.
That's spot on, Dawn, and that pretty much sums it right up. You know, I was going to raise the same thing. He tried to nail and really put one on Hammers early on. Now, that's a defender putting his marker down as part and parcel of the game, or certainly the old school game that I used to love. You probably can't do it as much now these days, but it's spot on. And everyone was going, okay, Van Dijk, that's part and parcel of the game. They weren't going, get him sent off, do this. So you then can't get such an emotional wreck over what happened afterwards. It's not good. It's not what happened to him, but it wasn't vindictive by Pickford, simple as. So I think, you know, that's where we go with it. So it's, I don't know. I think we move on from social media, I think, and we maybe drag ourselves into sort of looking maybe forward to the weekend. Although what our one ability maybe is that we don't have to pay for it, which some other people have. I mean, just quickly, this £15 charge that they're suddenly starting to screw football fans over with. What do you think on that? It just seems like just pure robbery by Sky Sports and others to me.
What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, as you said, it's robbery. It's sheer greed. You pay a monthly subscription for BT and Sky Sports, so to then have to pay them extra money to watch your team because they haven't picked to put them on telly in a pandemic is pathetic. I think you're already paying enough and they should be on. I mean, when the Premier League first returned, there was a few fixtures on BBC and ITV. I think they should be keeping that up. It's trying to keep people's morale up and boost them in this time. So it's sheer greed. I don't think there's much more to it. I won't be paying 15 quid. I'll stream it illegally. You can add if you want.
Well, looking at the alleged figures of, was there only 74 people actually paid for Burnley and West Brom last night? If the figures
is that actually official?
Well, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. No disrespect to both clubs, I wouldn't have paid £1.50, but the principle is wrong. It is wrong, and whilst Everton are on for the next few weeks, it will probably come to us at some point. And you're right, it's people are getting laid off, getting made redundant, are already paying for Sky packages, have already paid for the season tickets. It's a joke of a decision, but it's a greedy conglomerate, isn't it? And you know, Sky's charging as equitably like it's coverage of football above the top six. So let's get on to Southampton.
Just on that, sorry, it's
sorry, go on, yeah.
certain clubs, like probably Burnley is one of them as well, but Villa, I think none of them are on Sky or televised this month. So if you're a Villa fan, you've got to pay for every single one. Now, I know we're all right this month, and that possibly will change, but if you're a top 6 side, most of the time you're on the telly. Why is it fair they don't have to pay? And, other teams do. It's just not fair.
Okay, so that leads us into this weekend then. And Southampton away. Never an easy fixture for Everton, if I remember our history down there. So what do we reckon? What do we reckon on Southampton at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, isn't it? Any Premier League team away from home is going to be tough. And I think it's sort of shifting the mentality for us at the minute. For me, I still look at an away game and I'm like, oh, can we even go there and win? And if we want to get in the top 4 and we do really want to push the top 6, it needs to be a shift. And I think the next 2 are Southampton away and someone else away. Is it coming up?
Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. I thought it was Newcastle away. And if we can go and win them 2 games, I think it'll be really good. So I think the positives we can take from Saturday is we created a lot of chances against a good team. I think what we can agree on. It was a good result. Keeps the run going. And we can only go and take that into Saturday. I think Southampton have got some decent players on the break. They've got players who can score goals if they get it in and around the box. We obviously with Danny Ings, Che Adams, and I thought when they got to Goodison toward the end of last year, they were the best team. I think we snatched the draw off them. So I think we really got to go out there and enforce ourselves early on them. I think we've got to get a grip of possession. We can't be giving it to Southampton. I mean, it's Southampton. We want to go out there. We need to go and get a grip of possession, enforce ourselves early, stop their attacks, and just let's create chances like we have been. I mean, if we can get the ball to James, it's so hard for them to stop that switch onto Luka Dean because there's not a chance they're going to move a player all the way over to the left-hand side just to go and mark Luka Dean when the ball's on the right-hand side. And even if they did do that, it will give us space in the middle. So I think with that threat and with James coming in and being able to offer that, I think it's just a constant threat we're always going to have throughout the season. So let's hope we can keep them 2 fit. And I thought they were 2 good performances from Saturday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think one of my all-time favourite away days was at Southampton under Martinez when we won 3-0. And we were absolutely on fire that day. I mean, it's just, when you think about it, the pace of everything that we did was great. And other times I've been there, it's been absolute misery. But like you say, Cal, building on Saturday, the fact that we created chances, our mentalities had a shift. We can get Rodriguez and Dean on the ball, get it into Calvert-Lewin. It's just then, who's going to play in the other positions. The team pretty much writes itself, but obviously we've got a few positions up for grabs. Do you think about that?
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to start?
Well, Cal?
Well, I think the one obvious one's obviously Ben Godfrey. He's going to have to come straight in for Coleman if Coleman's not fit, who will be a loss because he started the season really well, I think. The other one's really up for debate, and it's what fancies you taste. We'll start with you, Nick, with this one, then I'll answer what I think. Who's going to play instead of Richarlison?
I mean, if you look at his preference off the bench, it's potentially Iwobi, isn't it? I'm not sure Iwobi gives us those attacking options. He's quite an interesting player. He's got a pedigree, he has, before any time he's played at Arsenal. He just doesn't set the world alight for me. And to be fair, Richarlison has given us those bursts, those drives forward. There's a little bit of me that says, do you play young Anthony Gordon there?
Yeah, I think Gordon deserves a chance. I'm not sure if when he knocked on Carlo's door and asked why he wasn't getting a shirt, if he's gone down the pecking order because of that. But
yeah.
When we came back from lockdown, he was great, and pre-season he was looking good. I think he deserves a chance at some point. But like you say, Nick, Iwobi seems to be the first choice off the bench. Just one thing on the defensive thing for me, I'd put Godfrey centre half and put me in a right back. You can't pass the centre forwards like that, and body positioning at the back for Mina particularly is all wrong.
I just think he'd get tethered out there though even more. It'd be more like 1v1 situations. I think he would just get ripped apart out there. I think centre back's the best place where you can put him. Like,
He's further away from goal there, though. Less carnage.
So who are you putting in then, Cal?
I would go with Iwobi. I think just on sheer physicalness and pace, he's shown glimpses this season of a little bit more. A few nice passes. I mean, he hit the post, was at West Ham for Calvert-Lewin's second or third. Which should give him a little tap, and he's looked a little bit more lively. And as we've said on the previous podcast, now we've got better players. It'll be interesting to see if Iwobi can step up. I think Iwobi was one who we paid 35 million or whatever for last year, and he was a save for the team because of that, and because we had no one else. And now he's fighting for a place. I think Gordon's a good shout. I really do, and I'd love to see Gordon playing, come in and do well. With that experience that he has, which is little after minute, I think I would personally go Iwobi, but we'll see.
We talked before around Gomez, and we were all left little question marks around his performance at Liverpool. Do you change that midfield? Do you put Sigurdsson in, or do you stay as it is for the continuity and the way that clearly Ancelotti must like playing?
I think it depends what you're basing the team on. If you're basing it on good looks purely, then Gomez has got to start. If it's about the football, then I think he deserves dropping. I think Siggy, like you say, has been knocking on the door, and we need more legs in there. He had no legs on Saturday, so I'd give Siggy a go in there personally. Do you think, Cal?
Yeah, I'd freshen it up. I would. I'd put Sigurdsson in. I mean, he's looked stale, and he Gomez, and we don't want that continuous staleness in the midfield and us slipping up with the result. So I bring Sigurdsson in. He's going to be keen to impress, and I think he has impressed in the games that he's played, whether that be the Carabao Cup or his cameos when he came on. So yeah, I agree on that one, Dawn. I think definitely let's get him in there. Sigurdsson on Saturday for me too.
And we're all relieved that Walcott can't play against us.
You see, where Walcott's concerned, right? I've always liked Walcott, and I've always thought he's been at Sean Wright Phillips, and that he's never lived up to his potential. And when we got him, he was rubbish, and then Ancelotti come in, and you saw stepped up improvement in him. So I was a bit disappointed when he was going, because defensively he's good, whereas you look at Iwobi, God, I think my mobile phone can close a ball down better than Iwobi, but on the ball he's better, whereas Walcott defensively is a better option in that position. But I don't think he'd set the world alight against us. I don't know what you think.
Cal, doesn't bother you?
The worry with Walcott, if he wears a play, I know he's not, so it's all in hindsight. He can score a goal, to be fair too. So if he gets 1v1 with the keeper, there's a good chance he's going to stick it away. But he wasn't up to much going forward. He sort of lost that real drive that he had at Arsenal in his younger days, where he would just beat men for fun, and we never really saw that at Everton. And that's one point on Iwobi, which I thought we were going to see. And when I saw him for Arsenal, I really felt like he was a player that could beat a man, or he could create space with a nice little shimmy, which we also haven't seen from him. So that's one target I'm looking at Iwobi for this year. Can he beat a man? Can he make that space for himself, which he doesn't? He seems to run out of space or run into his own feet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is, but there's no doubt it's going to be a difficult old game on Sunday. I think that there are no mugs, Southampton, and as Dawn said, we don't have many successful away days there, so maybe this is going to be it. So, do we back up our the courage of our convictions with a win prediction? You coming off the fence this week, Cal, or are you sticking with the draw again?
Yeah, well, I think another question we need to answer is, who do we see scoring apart from Calvert-Lewin with Richarlison out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. That's why if you put Gylfi in, it's another person who in and around the edge of the box can score, whereas you wouldn't really class Gomez in that bracket.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got Rodriguez who can score a goal too, but Richarlison's going to be a huge miss for me. A real miss. He's an absolute threat every time he's on the pitch.
Yeah, and his heading prowess, I mean, I know DCL's picked up the plaudits for the headed goals, but you can't forget how many Richarlison gets with his head and important goals as well. You're right. I think it's a decent comment, that, Cal, and it probably brings us back to where we were last week, which was, we were pondering, should we throw a few bob, and sign Josh King, wasn't it? And I don't know, it sort of asks that question again now, doesn't it? You've not got a lot else to come off the bench.
No, and I mean, Ancelotti said in an interview recently, they asked about Bernard and they were asking about Brazilians, and he said Bernard hasn't played much, but he is going to play. So, and Bernard, you've seen some really good games. You've seen him rip through other sides, but physically he doesn't put himself around enough. And I don't think we've got a replacement for Richarlison. Everyone else is going to be, they're not going to live up to what he can give us.
Yeah, that was the only disappointing thing on Saturday is we didn't have a striker on the bench. We didn't have a named striker on the bench. So, yeah, lucky TCL's playing brilliantly at the minute, but if he was to be having a stinker, Richarlison was to be having a stinker, who do we put on? Because we haven't got anyone who can go centrally then. The point with Bernard is he's a really good technical player. He's fantastic on the ball, but he's not physical enough for the Premier League for me. He just gets shepherded off the ball way too easy, and I don't really actually think he's that quick over a few yards for such a small man. He's not as quick as Walcott, who we've been talking about, etc. Over 5 yards. So I think that's Bernard's problem, but maybe being central may help that if that's where he was to play when he comes into the team.
Yeah, he looked reasonable against Fleetwood, didn't he, when he played in there? Okay, admittedly, the big difference between Fleetwood and Southampton, but yeah, it is. But I think you make a really good point, Cal. It was the one thing, if you looked at social media, that clung the transfer window shut in. That was people's biggest concern, wasn't it? Is where's that striker? If it's not Cenk Tosun coming back from injury, then it's the young lad, and he's not even been had a chance yet at the first team.
No, and it's just, you look at Liverpool and sort of they're worried now without having Van Dijk, and it doesn't matter what player it is. If it's one of your core or your main strength in the side, if it's, you usually have 3 or 4 players that you don't want to play without. If we lost either of them, it's not good for us, and we don't have backup, like you say.
Yeah.
What do you think on Pickford? Did you think he'll be available? Of course, he'll be available to play. But how do you think his mental state's going to be after the past couple of days? Do you think he'll put him in, or do you think they'll give him a little bit of a break and play that Robin Olsen? I don't know anything about Olsen, by the way, before we even get into that.
I don't think they can drop him. I think it's more negative for his mentality if he gets dropped. I think he needs to get back on the bike and just try and get through it.
Do you think he's strong enough in himself to carry on playing?
Well, he's dead cocky, isn't he? He's too cocky most of the time. So I think he'll be okay. Obviously, they've got psychologists and all that to work with him. The worst thing we can do is to drop him right now. He just needs to play through it. What do you think, Nick?
No, I agree with you completely. I think, as we said a little bit earlier, we saw 70% of the Pickford we thought we'd signed, which was brilliant during the game, and then thankfully he got away with the offside, but that absolute nightmare with the Jordan Pickford one. But he is strong. He is quite resilient, I think. And as we said, his confidence will probably let him pick it up. My only concern, and I didn't want to drift back to the social media, is, his wife's been receiving all kinds of threats as well, and whether that sort of family element gets in there. But I don't think so. I think the fact none of us know a great deal about Olsen sort of probably makes me mind up that, no, you go with Pickford. I think you've got to go with Pickford, and you're saying, Cal, you've just got to hope we don't pick any injuries up for the next couple of weeks that are going to take any more real sting out of our attacking options. Yeah,
just on Pickford, do we actually think he is a confident person? I think, he comes across as cocky, but I think at times it's a little bit of a persona that he puts on. For me, he can't be confident the way he's playing. As you said, and we said when we were watching the game, me and Nick, he was probably man of the match up until he made that mistake from Henderson, but it's every week. He's a professional footy player, and he makes a big mistake every week. For me, that screams out he's not confident. He mustn't be, and this isn't going to help him anymore. I'm not saying I'd drop him, he probably still is better than this Robin Olsen, but he can't be confident for me. And, yeah.
You see, I'm going to disagree with you. Sorry, Carl. I think if you watch him, if he pulls off probably every game a world-class save, and then he will do something ridiculously stupid and put it in his own net. And it's a complete extreme. But if you watch him pull off a world-class save, he's there mentally patting himself on the back for 5 minutes. And then in that 5 minutes, he's dodgy. He's dodgy because he's not focusing. He's focusing on how good that save was. And, you know, the saves are world-class, some of them. But I do think he's overconfident, and I think that's what the problem is, because he doesn't see the danger sometimes because he's too much in his own head and how good he is.
Interesting. No, definitely interesting point, that, and I think it's something that we, he certainly causes our fans to be split down the middle, doesn't he? In where we are and what we've got. So time will tell, I think, Dawn. But at the minute, again, the decision was made. He's brought Olsen in rather than maybe the goalkeeper he wanted from Manchester United. So it is probably with Pickford for the foreseeable. But that's it. Yeah. So I think that broadly is pulls us back round to: are we going for an Everton win, or are we going for a draw?
Can I just say one thing, sorry, before you do that? You know, Romero couldn't come to us because Man United wouldn't sell them to us because competition.
Yeah.
Like, that's 3 players in sort of like 3 or 4 seasons that they haven't wanted to sell us, and instead they sit on the bench and rot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And they don't help him. Even Romero's wife came on, or his girlfriend, didn't she, having a go at that? So it is what it is. So no, it's probably draws us to the conclusion of this week's show. I think we'll win. I think 2-1. I'm confident. I think that we are continuing in the right direction, although Southampton will give us a bit of a go.
That's the same as last week, Nick. You said 2-1 as well.
Yeah, I know. It is.
I think it'll be a draw. I think Danny Ings is one of those players that he always scores past us, and if we've got me in at the centre half, he's probably going to score. I'm going to go for a draw, and I think either 2-2 or 3-3. I think there'll be quite a few goals in it.
Brilliant. And I think I'd ask Cal, but I have a fear. I think his battery's just gone on his laptop, so he's ducked out at the moment. So he wasn't going to come off the fence for this week either. So we'll see what next week brings. But thanks to Dawn for her company. Thanks to Cal for his views. And we'll catch you again next week. Cheers.